Hi and hello everyone. Welcome back to this PMP exam. We have come really deeper into the course now. We have just four more knowledge areas to cover. So we started with the latest exam updates. We have covered the exam content overview where we learned the domains and then the project management introduction moving forward. So lecture is going to cover two of these knowledge areas, project communications management and then project risk management. So let's just quickly jump into the topic, project communications management. So actually there are two parts to this process. The part of the process which helps us develop a strategy that makes sure that the stakeholders receive the communication as efficiently as possible. So we learn about something called artifacts, if you recollect the work from your introduction class. And the second part, which totally focuses on the activities that are necessary to implement. It's like now that the artifacts are created, now we'll focus on the implementation part. So this project communications will be learned into such parts. We all send and receive information consciously or unconsciously, right? So sometimes we consciously give away some information on the business or the project, and sometimes we do it without thinking about it in just a casual talk. I'm not stressing whether we are giving away the right information or not. The part here must be to focus on the flow of the knowledge. So in most of the cases, the flow is not done strategically, consciously, yes, but usually without using any strategy or planning. So if we develop some plan or strategy to the project related communications as the act of sending and receiving information, we'll be able to successfully manage the project relationships with the stakeholders. So this strategy, whatever we're discussing, it would target to develop a communication plan that would make sure only the required amount of knowledge or information are communicated to the stakeholders. So, and this is done using specific formats or specific messaging media as per the predefined strategy. I mentioned that we should transfer only the right amount of information, not because our own stakeholders shouldn't be aware of what is going on, right? So don't misunderstand me, but I told that the right information should be given. I mean, only the required information should be transferred because the excess unnecessary information, it might lead to miscommunications. So the PMBOK guide, 6th edition, 7th edition, it in fact stresses so much about avoiding this miscommunication or misunderstanding from the stakeholders that it has even guided us to use 5 C's of communication. So 5 C's of communication. So, I mean, why I'm insisting this so much is that it is already mentioned in the PMBOK guide. That means it must be something important as a project manager while you are executing. All these things may not come in the exam, but it is important that you learn this. It will be easier for your, broadening your understanding of what communications actually are. Right. So, what these 5 C's are? First thing is correct grammar and spelling. So, wrong spellings, first of all, they diminish our credibility. And secondly, they can distract people from actual right message. They tend to focus on the spelling mistake more than the message. So it's important that the correct grammar is used. And second C is concise expression. So this stresses so much not to use unnecessarily additional words. We all have dealt with that colleague who writes, a 500-word essay, which confuses us more than it convinces us. So it's better to use as concise emails and information flow as possible. Third C is going to be the clear purpose. So this means that the message has to be targeted only to that user, not to the world.com, who is always in CZ. And then the fourth C is going to be the coherent flow of ideas. Coherent means something which is well structured information, which summarizes, and highlights the key messages to the reader. So you must have seen also such beautiful emails which summarizes, which underlines what is the summary of that essay that is written there. So such things are coherent flow of ideas. And then the fifth C is talking about controlling the flow. Just reread before you pass any information. Just make sure you are controlling whatever information that you're giving. So just understand that also there are 3 simple steps to learn this communications process. First thing is going to be the clarity on the purpose, right? So you have to have clarity on, again, 2 things here, whether you're sending the information or receiving the information. So you need both clarity on sending the information, clarity on receiving of the information. That's 2 things. And third is monitoring and measuring the effectiveness of this communication. So before we move ahead in the process, also know what are the latest trends that are being followed, right? So in so many of the processes, we have learned what are the latest trends of the process. So in project communications also, we have latest trends. Like the first thing could be the stakeholders are being involved in all the project related reviews. So earlier, what used to happen, only the higher management, the senior managers used to present all the project related topics to the higher management. But now it is being deployed slowly, allowing the people who are actually working at the ground level to give direct information to the bigger bosses, right? So that the loss of information that is happening when the information is flowing from the bottommost person to the topmost, that is being reduced with this new trend. Second thing is use of a lot of electronic media, not electrical media. We have all seen in the past years how the communication has been changed. So use of Zoom calls, or Teams calls, chat boxes. I think you get the message. And the third trend could be the use of specific language of the land. This is also being more and more prominent. I know this might sound a bit strange. We all know that the language of internet, the English, is by far the default medium of communication in all the emails. But the communication is just not written on the internet, right? We are talking about an organization whose day by day operations are being targeted through this project management. So what happens is all the local emails which are sent within the organization between two people who speak the same local tongue, they exchange the information in the language that they're most comfortable with. So this is mostly seen in all the non-English speaking countries, like the European countries have started it. The Mandarin speaking countries like Japan, China, all these, they were using since the birth of emails, right? They have their own language. We cannot even read their emails. So this is also becoming quite trendy nowadays. So we should also adapt to this. So let's get started with the process. Plan the communications management, manage communications and monitor communications. So these three are the processes that we are going to learn. So let's quickly jump to it. Planning of the communications management. This is nothing but a plan for the project related communication activities and all the relevant information to the correct, related stakeholders is given at the right time, right? So this is the target for this. Although this process is done, like throughout the project, the plan is created at a very early stage. So at the beginning of the project life cycle itself, this plan is created. But that plan is not absolute, right? So they will not just stick to this plan. They will keep on adding some changes to this as the project moves ahead. So shall we go ahead and see what the outputs are? Okay, we have three outputs. As we can see, the first output is the creation of communications management plan. This is but a plan that talks about how well the communications are structured and directed to the right party. So it allows the monitoring of these communications. This plan can include the things like the templates in which the project works, the escalation processes, the process who has to give, the process in which a person has to give the information properly, the person who is going to receive it. All these specifics are very well recorded in this communication management plan. Even the technology that we use for sending this message, it is sometimes also recorded, just like this Zoom call. So shared drive links, SharePoint links, everything is mentioned in the plan, like how we are going to communicate. All this is pre-planned. So secondly, the project management plan gets updated. For example, the component of this project management plan, like the stakeholder engagement plan gets updated. It gets updated that in any new process or techniques that we keep adding to this process, that means project management has to get updated. The project management plan, the original project management plan. And lastly, the project documents also get updated. Typically, the project schedule and the stakeholder register, these are the most affected ones usually, but don't limit yourselves just to these components that I'm referring to. All right, let's check what the inputs are.